Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, Mr. Tom Dillon, and in the production carrier with the unenviable task of tracking the action here in the darkness at Nordschleife, our friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie, and the star of today's show, the Radical SR10, 425 horsepower, only 725 kilos, no traction control, no ABS, and folks, we are showing the top split of the public server here, 2100 GMT Friday, as we do every week. So this is not a private event. This is not a league event. So if you would like to give these radicals a spin and appear here live with us on Apex Racing TV, come on out and sign up. Friday, 2100 GMT, and these cars are a handful, but as I say every week, mastery of the SR10 will make you better at every car that you drive. We're winding down, of course, here, 2024 Season 2. We're sitting in Week 11, so only 1 week left, and the season finale next week would be Road America. So we'll be looking forward to that. But this week, clearly, as you can see on your screen, we are at the Green Hell Nordschleife. This is the industry farting configuration. So all Nords all the time. This phenomenal and legendary track opened in 1927 in the shadow of the Nürburg Castle in the Eifel Mountains. Last F1 race here, 1977. Current host to DTM and the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. This is a 20 kilometer track configuration, about 13 miles, 154 corners, and our race lap record 6:25.91 by Stefan Beloff, Porsche great, in a Porsche 956 back in 1983 Group C racing. So no qualifying here today. They held qualifying separately, so we are already set to grid. So let me run through your grid with you now, and rest assured that Tom is here. He'll have his 2 cents here in a minute. But on the pole, Philip Vandenherk, one of our faster Radical drivers, has not showed up a lot this season, but is here on pole today. Next to him, James Barry in P2. The next row is Kadura and Rafa White. Lasse Sorensen will be with Heinz Braun in 5 and 6. Gullickson next to Castro. Berger next to Jacobs. Arjui next to Dennis Kyriakopoulos there in 11. and 12. And if we get that scrolling, next we got Max, Robert, Johanna, Stefan, and Powell, and Lambert, and we are green, James, and stop talking, and there goes Vandenherk. Vandenherk is going to get away clean. It's Vandenherk from Barry, from Rafa White, from Sedura, from Heinz Braun. The car's quickly going into single file nose to tail configuration. We are on dead cold tires here, folks. No warm-up lap, so we've got to be very careful here in the early going, and particularly we're about to hit a high-speed section here at the early in the lap, which will be all out, flat out later in the race, but the car pushes a little bit, doesn't want to turn in, so we're going to have to exercise patience here in the early going. And Tom, we may see some mayhem today. These races can be a little bit mussy, but they also show the terminal velocity of these radicals, which can be pretty fun on the back straight.
Yeah, just the 4 laps here, and I think most people waiting for that back straight really to look to make their moves. Barry, however, will find himself under immediate pressure from the Argentinian, the Uruguayan actually, sorry, Rafa White's not getting my flags mixed up there. Down into the right-hander they go, looking for the braking around the outside. We'll see what happens here. Rafa White actually loses a position to Cadora up into 3rd. So as we ride on board with the Uruguayan, trying to find a way through. He's 7th seeded for this race, so a little bit higher than he'd expect to be behind him. It looks like Sorensen gets back past Castro, and immediately proving my point wrong, as well as they stay side by side up into the chicane. No real doing there, so it's Herc from Barry, Cadora from White, and Braun at your top 5. Only the 4 laps, if you can just about see what's going on. You'll see that at the moment we have got a bit of a train though.
Yeah, the trains are going to form up, and a great start so far by these drivers. Sometimes the starts here can be a little messy on cold tires, and there's a special kind of adrenaline and a special kind of increased heart rate when you're sitting on the grid here at the green hell waiting for that green flag, and the adrenaline rush can overcome your better judgment and your patience. But so far, so good. A lot of drivers showed up today. This is the top split, so we are seeing some of the best radical drivers here in the world as we're getting about halfway into lap 1 here. And I'm not going to throw the German names of some of these corners at you. 1, because I don't know them, and 2, if I did, the pronunciation would be horrific. But trust me that we are about halfway through. It's Herc from Barry, from Cadura, from White, from Braun, and the cars staying pretty well together. Looks like about the top 10 are separated by about 6 seconds. So we're going to have a nice train coming onto the back straight, which is going to be the source of nonstop action and some tears potentially.
Absolutely on board towards the back of the field with Dennis Karakopoulos. Look at how much the rest of the field have pulled away from these guys in this early stage of the race. But Dennis looking to make his way into 12th position ahead of this Sprigler. Goes down, Sprilia I should say, as he goes to the outside line now, swooping around the outside, one of the fastest parts of the track, and by the looks of things he's just about going to be able to do it. Still got work to do though, try and get into 12th position, goes to the inside line, and I think Dennis Karakopoulos is about going to squeeze through here. Robert Woodward looking to get himself into 13th position. Bit of a twitch from Dennis, but as they hit the slight braking zone, oh dear, Robert almost all the way into the back of Lisprelli. I had to brake to anticipate what was going on with Dennis Karakopoulos, and look at the momentum that has lost them, as now Robert under more pressure from the outside.
Yeah, Woodward getting a little love tap there on the back of his competitor and knocked him back, as you pointed out. That is going to let Koska through, and that section there, that is your section between Bergwerk and the Moot Curve, and it looks a little bit twisty on the map, but it's effectively a straightaway. You come out of Bergwerk there and run it through the gears all the way up to 6th with the throttle pin. So that is a place where the draft can play a role and make these cars stack up a little bit, and it is still Herc from Barry, Vandenherk from Barry, from Cadura up front. Vandenherk beginning to stretch that gap, and that's what he wants to do. And he comes onto that back straightaway after making his way through the latter part of the course. He wants that gap behind him to be a second or longer. Otherwise, Barry is going to get sucked up to the back of his radical like they're connected by a rubber band due to the massive slipstream effect in these SR10s.
And it's Basil for 13th position as well, so it's not even particularly for one of our high places. There is only 9 tenths of a second for what it's worth at the lead of the race. I'm keeping an eye on the sector timings because they're the most important thing really around this circuit, given the fact that every sector is, well, a couple of minutes long with the 6-minute lap going on around here. We're well into sector 3 though now on this first lap, and I can tell you that James Murray gained a 10th of a second in that last sector, sector 2, only being about 40 seconds long from what I can see right now. And it'll be interesting to see if he is able to start to put that pressure on. We continue to look at these guys as well as by now the leaders, with Hjort getting back a second ahead of Barry. The leaders won't be too far away from heading on to the Dottinger Hauer, which is the big straight here at the Nürburgring. A little facts for you: it is the longest straight. Here we are. You can see the board on there as well, and just about the cars merging from the top of your picture. This is the longest straight that you are allowed under FIA regulations.
Yeah, and these cars are absolutely flying. I did some solo laps here this morning. Got up to about 260 kph, slowed down a little bit by that little rise. You see the cars going over now, but with the draft, you're going to see 270 up to 280 kph in these radicals on this back straight. So there's going to be a lot of action here on the back straight, and the guys up front are going to have to decide when to time those passes. If it was the second to the last lap, you might not want to pass and be sitting in P2 or P3 on the last lap, because if you're up front, you're going to be a sitting duck due to the massive slipstream of these cars on this long straightaway.
I think you're exactly right there. That's got to be the way that this is played. As we see at the moment, 5 tenths of a second between Herc and Barry. I'll be keeping an eye on that as well, as Barry's caught up quite a lot through this first sector. We're on board with Sebastian Stangel as he looks ahead at Robert Woodward. No way through for him just yet, though. This sector 1 is a little bit of an off track for Rafa Wright. This sector 1 is so bunched up, it's so thin, that even in the 24 hours we see that there is very rare that there is a move around here. One DNF, by the way, from the race so far, or soon to be DNF, I would imagine. Lambert Philippe, unfortunately, has retired, or by the looks of things, is about to retire from the race. Here is a replay. This will explain what happened to him, as we see through the trees, wondering whether there's a bit of contact. There is, and he goes flying off into the wall on driver's left. Cool photo, actually, with the sparks flying out, but that will be his day done.
Yeah, and Philippe taking a tow there. Obviously, that car sustained significant damage, and we'll see whether or not he elects to come back out. And it may take a little while to find out. The tows around here, if you're unfortunate enough to have gotten a ride on a flatbed at the Nürburgring, are painfully long. And some good action developing here. We're with Gullikson now, looking forward at Braun Sorensen and Castro, and bang, there goes Braun. Braun is going to spin off into the grass. He is underway again, but that is going to be costly for him as he drops 2 or 3 positions there. Not sure if he had help or just got a little bit too much curb, but these radicals do not like touching those curbs. It's really easy to get them to over-rotate when they're already at the limit and just get a little bit too much of the high curbs. Let's see what happened here.
Well, this was just before Heinz Braun, series regular, going off slightly. We're looking, well, I should say we're looking, Joshua is looking desperately for another replay, and I think we've got one here. So Heinz Braun on the inside line. We'll go 3 wide very, very briefly. Heinz back out of it, through the trees we go, and the tree blocking off our view of that goes into the left-hand side, well, Armco there, and I'm not really sure what happened, JR. That looks a little bit inconclusive on that replay.
Yeah, I think it was the curb that reached up and tossed that radical into the Armco. He may have been squeezed, but definitely went a little wide there over a fairly high section of the curbing. And Josh is going to give us another peek here. And watch that green car on the left. He's going to get a little bit. Oh, I see. Yeah. I don't know if he maybe rotated into that car next to him. I really thought that he had hit a little bump that started causing that car to rotate. But yeah, rough stuff there for him. And we'll see whether or not that radical will make it back around.
Yeah, he ran a little bit wide there, didn't he? And just hit into that car beside him. Battle for 5th position. Sorensen under pressure from Andre Castro, who actually is putting under pressure from Gulliska now. Goes to the outside line. They'll be banging wheels all the way up as we make it 3 wide. Briefly through goes Sorensen on the outside line. This would be a hugely brave move for 5th position. He's just about got the overspeed. Next braking zone will coming up shortly, and he goes to the inside line, forces that car a little bit out on it to the grass, but is able to find a way through. That's a fantastic move from Castro.
Yeah, incredible move by Castro, and that is that same section that we talked about before, that long stretch between Bergwerk and Moot Curve, where you just run these radicals through the gears, foot to the floor, and get up to 6th there. And I think I saw one car coming through, must have had some front end damage and lost their headlights. And oof, that cannot be fun. It is pitch black out here, no lighting whatsoever. And my goodness, there's somebody else taking a ride. Not sure who that was. Looks like it could have been Hesterman spinning out of the carousel there. And again, that's a place that requires patience. You got to kind of stay down in that little concrete drainage area, not give it too much gas. And if you're too impatient, feet on the throttle too early, it'll toss you right out. And and then there's the other way you can go out there, which is to get completely punted from behind. And that's what happened to Hesterman. Ouch.
It's all a little bit messy, and we're proving that actually if you race cars this aggressively all day, he's just dived down the inside into the carousel and absolutely clobbered into the car, which was on the outside line, trying to join the carousel, and that sent him flying. It proves that if you race these like bumper cars around this circuit, it's going to end poorly, and that's happened to Robert Woodward, Johannes Esterman, and Lambert Felipe at the moment, I'm afraid. Look at this gap though, JR, at the top of the field, 1.4 seconds. James Barry probably having to keep an eye over his shoulder more so than starting to attack for the lead of the race as they head through the second carousel and onto the straight shortly. We see Sebastian Stangel, the next of our drivers, coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, Van den Herk has definitely done what he needed to there by stretching out that gap between him and Barry, so Barry would not benefit from the draft on the back straight. And we're going to watch Stangel here, I believe. And wow, okay. Maybe a mechanical failure, or here's an in-car from Stangel. See what happened here. Whatever it was, he just ooh, there we go, into the Armco, got the meatball and pushed the tow button. And now then there were 4 cars now, or 3 cars now showing in the pits. Hesterman has reemerged, so he'll get back on the track, but definitely some attrition happening here at the Nordschleife.
Yeah, it's only been a 4-lap race, and it's been very attritional. The iRating of some of these drivers, I think a lot of them would have actually been here last weekend, of course, with the Nürburgring 24 hours that was run on the sim. And I do wonder if perhaps they've got a little bit used to those GT cars, and these radicals in more of a sprint format, a little bit more difficult to drive. Battle for 5th is going to resume then. Andre Castro losing it to Sorensen once again. Sorensen then trying to hold on to that 5th position. We'll see if Castro can put some pressure on him. I think what's shocked me here is we're on to the penultimate lap of this race, JR, is the fact that actually a load of these drivers have found themselves in this weird situation as Sorensen goes onto the grass on the right-hand side, where they've got huge gaps, the cars ahead. I don't quite understand why, because we, in theory, shouldn't be losing that much time.
Yeah, you know, and it's when they're nose to tail like this, small mistakes are easy to make around here, and a small mistake can cost you a lot of time. You know, this track kind of turns these cars into momentum cars. I think we see a little bump drafting happening there. But, oh, and my goodness, Tom, look at that timing tower. 6:17.97 by Van den Herk. So when I was patting myself on the back for breaking the 6:30 barrier, I should have just been turning off my computer and lighting it on fire, because Van den Herk putting down a smoldering lap time about half a second faster than anyone else on the track. Both Barry and Kadura putting down 6:18.5s, and those 3 cars are the only people below 6:20. So they are flying out there.
Well, absolutely flying, and it takes a lot to go 6:17.9 in one of these cars. You have to be pretty much on the edge for the entirety of the race. And, well, I think Philip van der Herk is the number 1 seed heading into this is absolutely that, driving the number 1 car for good reason. By the looks of things, we have got our first official retirement from the race. Johannes Hesterman, everyone else is still in the pits. As, oh dear, was that a little bit of bodywork, or was that just Philip van der Herk scraping across the curb there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like we have lost another as well. I see Heinz Braun has taken a tow now, and I've got 1 year in iRacing comms, and there is some salty differences of opinion about something that happened with Braun. I'm not sure if Josh is going to be able to find that.
Oh, we've seen half of it.
And yeah, it looks like he may have had some help there. And I'm going to take another peek here. And yeah, well, there's the steering wheel, and he's obviously taking some front damage because there's no lights. So, you know, these races can be fun, folks, but they can also be challenging to produce and put on for you. So anyway, let's just leave Heinz Braun on the flatbed and go back to Herc from Vandenherk, or Vandenherk from Barry from Kadura. And Kadura may be engaged in a little bump drafting there. Might be trying to help both of them get up to Vandenherk as we're coming into this fast section again, headed towards the Moot Curve on the back end lap 3 of 4. So we're well past halfway through here, and the attrition is continuing as it appears that only 13 cars are running at this point.
Side by side, this time between Castro and Berger. Castro on that outside line will get himself back into 6th position, but Gullisken, out of everything, has managed to make his way into 5th because Sorensen is out of the race. So that must have been something to do with the incident with Braun, I would suspect, and that sort of shook up the Baz of the top 5. I noticed how much time Kadora lost as he turned in to that left-hander, where he was just behind James Barrett. I wonder if maybe there's a slight little bit of dirty air effect in these cars. As here is Max Lisprilia. We'll see what happens to him. I think he's got a view on the accident. Heinz Braun on the left-hand side there. We haven't seen actually how he got into that situation though, JR, just simply that he was in that situation.
Yeah, and I think that he probably had some help with it. Oh my goodness, and Castro is testing his luck and testing the boundaries of the downforce on these radicals. They do generate some downforce at higher speed, but that splitter can't be a foot off the ground and generate anything. So Castro bouncing across that curb, rolling the dice, and meanwhile up front, Vandenherk has now stretched his gap to 2.5 seconds. He is gone. It's going to turn into a track day for him now. The dicing between Barry and Kadura will be keeping our attention here at least for a minute, and Kadura well within drafting range, going to try to stay with Barry all the way to the back straightaway and make a decision on whether or not he wants to sit for another lap and pass on the last lap, or whether or not he wants to make a move now. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. And my goodness, look at that timing tower, how the top cars have driven away here, and it just kind of emphasizes how the Nürburgring is such a specialty track and takes a special dedication and a special skill set to gain expertise here.
So heading on to the final lap of the race then, it is Philip van den Herk just ahead of James Barry, 2.6 seconds, which over the course of, well, I forget off the top of my head how long this track is, 25 kilometers or so. That's not a great deal of distance. This is a battle though for 2nd position. Kadora catching up so much in that slipstream as we head down the Dottinger Hauer, and he's able to find his way through and get in to 2nd position. So that is Samir Kadora up in to 2nd. James Barry caught napping ever so slightly, but I somehow don't think this battle is over just yet as we switch back to our leader as he starts to take the white flag.
Yeah, and is Kadura doing Barry a favor there? I mean, I'm not sure if they come onto the back straight in this configuration with this tight gap. I'm not sure what Kadura thinks he's going to be able to do to defend against Barry. And you'll remember last week we saw him make that epic move into sunset at Sebring on the last lap. We may see a repeat performance there. It looks like Castro and Berger are shuffling positions back and forth. A little bit of side-by-side action here in the early part of the course. course. Good fight going on between these two, keeping it clean while driving closely, which is something that we tend to see in these radical races. These drivers have great car control and they have great respect and a lot of trust for each other. So you often find them in these tight formations and in these side-by-side situations that you may feel are a little surprising.
And, well, the funny thing here as well is the field spread at the moment is 1 minute 17 seconds. So when we do take the checkered flag, we're going to have a while before the rest of the drivers cross the line. Barry has got himself back past Cadora. So this is heading into the second half of this final lap. I wonder if there's any gamesmanship at play here as we continue to follow for a moment. Those two drivers back to Barry and Cadora then. And Barry seems to have, yeah, he's got back through. So I want to hear if there was gamesmanship there, because if Barry did go for the move, as we've got a replay here of what did happen, if Barry did go for the move, then that's certainly an interesting tactic at this point in the race. Cadora has let him through, hasn't he? He's made it very easy for James Barry.
Boy, it did look like he lifted and moved over there, and God, what do you do if you're Barry there? Do you lift and just go side by side onto the back straight? Interesting decisions in these, and until you've driven one, the slipstream can be almost comical. It really does feel like you're pushing a turbo button while getting DRS. The car accelerates really in quite a striking fashion when you're in somebody's draft at higher speeds. But well, keep an eye on this. Barry now with a oh gosh, what is that? About a half second behind, and Cadora seems to be closing that down a little bit. And now we're going to take a look at that's Berger and Castro, and they've been dicing back and forth. They've traded position a few times, and Castro looking ahead to Berger, maybe wanting to get that P6 back on the back straightaway, and we'll take a good. We'll keep an eye on that for you as well. And action-packed race here, a little bit difficult to cover due to the lighting, but we're seeing some good dicing out there.
We're seeing some fantastic dicing, and I think James Barry here will be a little bit of a sitting duck, if you'll excuse me, being a little bit pessimistic for his chances here. Cadora, as we head through now what is Sector 2, Cadora's well and truly got to be the favourite to take this second space. I should mention as well, this has been an unbelievable drive from Philip van den Herk with that 3-second lead now ahead of the rest of the drivers. He is the most experienced by far on the grid by about 2,000 iRating or so, but we'll wait and see if he can do this into the last lap. Now, the Nordschleife, hugely difficult track, as you know, JR, to actually string laps together on, especially if you're going as fast as he is.
Yeah, Van den Herk absolutely flogging that radical, and he is not resting on his laurel despite that gap, which has now gone up to, gosh, if I'm reading that right, it's about 3.5 seconds now, and Van den Herk just put down a 6:17.74. So he is not satisfied with his previous fastest lap of the race, and he is still flogging that thing here on the white flag lap, and he is poised to cross that finish line well ahead of his competitors. And look at those fast lap times, 0.8 seconds ahead of James Barry, who is no slouch, last year's season champion and likely this year. But every now and then Van den Herk shows up to remind everybody that he is a master of these radicals, and he's certainly making that point very clear here.
Making the point very clear. For sure, is making his way now through the final sector or so of this Nürburgring at Nordschleife. Let's wait and see this battle as James Barry has now been re-overtaken by Cadora. This is playing back into the hands of James Barry as they really are quite close to that second carousel now. We'll wait and see what happens here into the final few corners of this track. We've got a replay of something that happened. This is actually the battle between James and Cadora. James right to the outside of the track. Does he make a mistake? He does. That's interesting. That's probably the best mistake James Barry's ever made in his life.
Yeah, absolutely. And my goodness, another casualty. Looks like Berger has also binned it. So now we're everybody's going to be in the top 10 who hasn't wadded up their radical. And here we go. We're coming down to Coming down to the final section here, and that last corner, Galgenkolb, I'm going to say, super important to get the throttle down nice and early, get a good exit onto that back straightaway. And how is Barry going to play this? Is he going to break the draft? Is he going to let Kadura by early and try to get him back? That can happen. The straightaway is so long, and the draft can accelerate you so quickly. You can move in front of your competitor and have them draft you back by the time you get down to the end. And here we are on the back straight. You see Barry trying to break that draft and not too successfully. And look at here. Here is White. We haven't talked about Rafa White, and he is in the middle of all this. Is he going to get past Barry as well? And he will. Oh my goodness. Bad to worse for Barry. And is White going to now try to get past Kadura on the entry? He's going through Tiergarten here, and oh my goodness. And it often comes to tears, as luck would have it. And White, out of nowhere, moves from P4 up to P2. And did I see some spinning lights there? There may have been contact between Barry and Kadura there. I thought I saw some lights flashing around like there was some kind of kerfuffle, but there you have it. And my goodness, that will teach me not to talk about White during the broadcast, because he came from P4 all the way up into P2 there on the last stretch. Talk about biding your time and waiting for your opportunity. That was pretty impressive.
Absolutely was. James Barry, absolute sitting duck though throughout all of it. Having a watch of the replay of this, Rafa in the background, James Barry just... he doesn't even give up. That's the thing. He doesn't give up at all. But the podium makes its way for Rafa White. It goes all the way around the outside. And I mean, that just proves how absolutely comical it is here, the slipstream.
My goodness, that was really something. And White, my goodness, deserves credit for that, biding his time. And, frankly, I didn't even notice him with everything else that was going on, closing in on that battle between Kadura and Barry. But he was able to reel them in over the course of those 4 laps and spring there at the very end. And that's something that we do see pretty often here at this track with these cars, that back straightaway with the kind of comical level of slipstream effect. And you saw it there. Kadura must have had 20 or 30 kph there on Barry toward the end of that back straight, and there was nothing Barry could do. We'll take another look at it here. And gosh, I would love to see his speedo right now, but just look at him past Barry like he's pulling an anchor. My goodness. And then manages to get a draft off of Kadura as well. I bet he's going 280 plus there and ringing that little 4-cylinder turbo out on that Radical. But man, oh man, what a fantastic strategy and great move by White. Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. He's been nowhere all race. I mean, I certainly notice him. And James Barry being bumped off the podium. If I'm right in saying, though, he's still the series champion after all of it, so it's not going to be too disappointing for him. But this is, I don't think he would have expected this at all. Look at how he just gets swallowed up. There's nothing he can do. Nothing he can do in defense. It's like the difference between LMP1 and LMP2 car. It really is.
Yeah, that is just crazy. And I know some of these guys are oh yeah, I thought I saw something going on back there, and there it was. Barry kind of overcooked that last hard braking area. Didn't cost him anything, but my goodness, yeah, sitting duck, just watching that traffic go by him like he's driving a minivan. And Barry has dealt out that kind of punishment to others so many times in the past. Hasn't received it all that much, but he sure did that time. And we will get your results up here momentarily. And while Tom runs through those with you, I'll take a peek outside and see if anyone's waiting to chat with us.
So Philip van den Herk with a fantastic drive to win by 5.6 seconds. Rafa White shows the most fireworks throughout the course of that race, finishing in second position, dramatic double overtake on the final straight of the race. Samir Kador in third position with James Barry and Havard Gulliska, and the rest of your top 5. Andre Castro is in sixth position with Ben Jacobs, Alberto Aragu, Max Lasprilia and Poel Casca, the rest of our top 10. Gabriel Berger will be a little bit frustrated to finish just outside of that top 10 in 11th position, with the rest of these drivers, to my knowledge, being at DNFs from the race. That is Dennis Kirikopoulos, Lasse Sorensen, Sebastian Stangel, Heinz Braun, Robert Woodward, Johannes Hesterman and Lambert Philippe.
All right, and true to form, looks like James is hanging around outside, so I'll go ahead and grab him in here, Tom, and maybe you can prize some more wisdom out of him, as he's usually so generous about providing to us here.
James, welcome to the broadcast. You were just a sitting duck on that final lap. That must have been a bit frustrating at the end there.
Yeah, well, I don't mind too much. It wasn't a really significant race for me, but I was having that race with Samir, and I knew that I knew what the tactics were going to be at the end, because if you're the car behind, you kind of have the power to go when you want for the overtake and get the slipstream at the time you want. And Samir then, he dropped behind me, and the thing is, for the whole lap, I was watching the gap to Rafa behind us, and I knew that we only had about 2 seconds in hand, and I knew that if we were playing those games too much, then we'd lose that gap, and that's what happened in the end. But I was being stubborn, to be honest. I didn't want to let Samir mug me off, because I don't know, I didn't care that much about like getting third or fourth. I knew I needed at least second for some good points, so I wasn't. I was a bit stubborn in the end, but Samir kind of fucked us. But sorry, I shouldn't swear. Messed us both over, I think, by not only dropping back at first and then dropping back more on the straight. And I don't know. I'm kind of glad that he lost. It's a bit mean, but I'm kind of glad that he didn't get the second either.
Yeah, well, we're not on TV, so I'm not much to say. But I'll say anyway. Apologies for the language there. But anyway, I mean, you can't be too frustrated. You've had a really good run this season. One more round to go.
Yeah.
How's your feelings on Road America?
It should be fun. It will be back to kind of, well, I hope high participation. I hope, well, not hope, but it will be lots of slipstream. Lots of people will be fast there, and also it's the European Championship race next week, so people will be practicing for that. So I expect it's going to be very competitive.
And well, any want to shout out on the broadcast before we let you go?
Just everyone who turns up. It's always good fun. So thanks everyone.
Thank you, James. We'll speak to you soon.
All right, cheers. See you guys.
That was James Barry, our fourth place finisher in the end. Has often been a winner this season, but not to be at the end of that one.
All right, and I don't see anyone else lingering around outside. So as we wrap up our broadcast here today, remember, folks, that we are not just about these fantastic radical SR10s here on Apex Racing TV. We have some of the best esports drivers, best cars, and best tracks in the business. And this weekend is no exception. Sunday, Ray Esports Formula Ford Weekend Warriors will be battling and dropping body panels at Long Beach. And Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors will be at Winton. And then Monday, the week will start off strong with Apex Racing League Sports Cars. That is a mixed class prototype versus GT grid at Spa. Tuesday, another Ray Esports event, and that's Ray Esports Racing League tackling Watkins Glen. So don't forget to subscribe to Apex Racing TV and hit that notification button so that you don't miss any of the action. And be sure to join us next week for our season finale. That is going to be week 12, battling at Road America. And these cars are fantastic out there. We'll get some more of that slipstream and some more high-speed dicing. So that is going to wrap us up for today. I am J.R. Gregory. On behalf of myself, on behalf of Tom Dillon, and our fantastic producer who did really well through adversity here with this dark Nordschleife here today. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome Friday and an even better weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.